Welcome to Maximizing Results. My name is Randy Cochrane. I am the Chief Growth Officer with Equity Real Estate. And today we're going to be talking about maximizing results in your real estate business. This is a proven system for building a predictable real estate business. As we go through today's webinar, make sure that you have a pen and notepad close by. Make sure you stay until the end, and we will be delivering some valuable resources to you. Now, if you're watching this replay on our YouTube channel, after you've watched the replay, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to be getting you my contact information so that you can send me an email, and we'll definitely be getting those out to you. As we get started, the real estate climate is very, very different than we've been in before. And I've been in this industry now for almost 25 years, and I've been through a few major market shifts. And every time the market shifts, we have to change a little bit about what we do in our business. However, what we're going to share today is really a system and the fundamentals that you can implement in your business regardless of what the market's doing. And when we talk about the market and we talk about success, it's really about three things. The market always matters, but it shouldn't influence the behaviors that you can control and the systems that you implement in your business. And because market matters, inconsistency should not affect anything that we do. There are three areas that really drive our success. The first one's mindset, the second one is skill set, and the third one is systems. We're going to be reviewing these three areas today, and hard work isn't typically always the problem. What really becomes the problem is that we are not implementing the systems correctly. Oftentimes we have unclear systems, we have unclear activity, we have inconsistent income, there's a lot of missed opportunity. Oftentimes we have high expenses in our business and weak sphere engagement. As we talk about symptoms in your business and the symptoms that continue to show up over and over and over again, one of the things that we want you to do is identify which symptom is showing up most often in your own business. And it's going to be very, very different for each individual agent. When we talk about our sphere of influence today and the marketing that we can do in our business, one of the most important things that you can do as we move through today's webinar is keep an open mind. Oftentimes when agents attend a webinar or a live presentation, they sit and they review and they look at the information and they say to themselves, oh my gosh, I've heard all this information before. And anytime an agent tells me that they've heard all the information before, one of my first things that I ask them to do is show me how they're implementing the systems. Not tell me, but show me. And we're going to show you the exact systems that you can be using in your business today. In fact, we're going to be emailing some information out to you again after the webinar so that you have some predictable success in your business. Right now, you want to think about the things that are costing you the most in your business. And we call these bottlenecks and constraints. And what we see agents experience the most in their business is motion without direction. We also see that income inconsistency. We miss listing opportunities as well as buyer opportunities. We see agents right now, especially in today's market and economy, that have excessive overhead and they're really not marketing the way that they should be marketing because marketing has definitely changed. When we first started the webinar, we mentioned mindset. And your mindset is a starting point for building a predictable business. There's a very famous quote or a saying that you probably heard before, which is whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And if you go out to your garage tonight and sleep in your garage, that's not going to turn you into a Chevy. Hold on just one second. I'm just going to make sure everybody's muted for the web recording. Your mindset is not positive thinking alone. It's how you choose priorities and really measure progress. And you have to remember that measuring progress in your business is crucial because if we don't measure anything in your business, we can't improve any type of result. So just remember that anything that you do in your business, especially if you do it more than 3 times, has to have a system behind it, but it has to be measurable. And there's a very, very big difference between being busy and being productive in your business. I hear agents say all the time, I'm always so busy. Well, if you're so busy, what are you actually busy doing? And we're going to help you identify the income producing activities that you should be engaged in on a daily basis that's going to move your business forward as fast as possible. And as I mentioned, it's really easy to stay busy without creating revenue. And revenue is the lifeblood of our business. Every direction that you take in your business starts with a clear result. A revenue producing activity, tracking, and a written plan are the things that move your business forward consistently. And what you want to do is you want to take a few moments after today's webinar and you want to open up your calendar and you want to audit your calendar and look for activities that are just making you feel productive, but really aren't moving your business forward. You'll want to live and die by your calendar. And a lot of agents say, well, I don't want to use a calendar. Well, if you're not using a calendar, then how are you actually determining what you're going to be doing throughout the week? And we're going to give you an activity tracker that's going to help you create some predictable results and tracking in your business after you attend this webinar today. The goal of today's activity and reviewing those items is really to create the highest value and use of time. And we can always make more money, but we can't make more time. And it's really interesting because even the wealthiest people in the world have the exact same 24 hours in their day that we have in our day. The only difference is leverage. And when you leverage, you're leveraging not just your calendar and your activities, but you're also leveraging the efforts of other people. When we talk about income, we're going to be talking about multiple pillars of income today and why that matters most in your business. And as you're tracking things and you're tracking each individual pillar, we'll know very, very quickly whether or not it worked or it didn't. And it's also going to help you determine what the next actions that you're going to be taking in your business on a daily and weekly basis. The smallest adjustments often create the biggest momentum. And what we mean by that is the choices that you make compound in one direction or in another. And you want to identify the one activity that you want to stop today, one that you want to start, and then one that you want to improve. Make sure that you're connecting the activity to the momentum because predictability is built through repeated intentional action in your business. Oftentimes, real estate income feels unpredictable. We call this the roller coaster. And what oftentimes happens is an agent gets really, really busy in their business because they were doing all the right income producing activities. They were prospecting, they were doing lead generation, they were listing properties or showing homes, they're doing open houses, and the roller coaster starts to go up near the top. Well, what happens is once an agent gets really, really busy in their business, the income producing activities and everything that we did to create momentum comes to a halt. And so what happens is the roller coaster goes down, and all of a sudden the agent goes, "Oh my gosh, my pipeline's empty." And the goal is to make sure that your pipeline stays full and consistent all the time. That way your income doesn't take dips throughout the year. And depending on your business and where you're getting your business from, you don't want to depend on one lead source. And that's a mistake that a lot of agents make. And one thing that we notice that the prospecting only happens when business slows down. When I have conversations with agents all around the country and I ask them what the most urgent thing in their business is, the majority of the time they tell me that it's more leads. And it's really not more leads. What it is prospecting. Failing to maintain a database is also a crucial part of your business, and it's one of the things that agents fall short on. Most of the agents that I talk to always say, "Well, I have a CRM." And my answer becomes, "Okay, well, show that to me and let's see how often you're using it." Also, there's no written conversion system. There's no scripts, there's no dialogues. And if you don't have all these things in place for your business, what happens is confusion. And you don't want to confuse closed transactions with future opportunity. And ironically, the best time to get a new listing or to get a new buyer is when you already have one because you're already in energy mode. What that means is you're excited about your business, there's activity, and oftentimes it's difficult to get the momentum back when your business slows down. We talked about lead sources. And when we talk about lead sources, most agents oftentimes only have one lead source. And if you only have one lead source, it's like building a table with one leg. It's not going to be very stable. And as we talk about multiple pillars of income for your business, this makes you less susceptible to market changes, advertising costs, algorithm changes, referral slowdowns. Maybe you have a major partner leaving, or you have a personal interruption because we know life happens. And it's really interesting. I was having a conversation with an agent not too long ago, and I asked them where all their business comes from. And typically, most agents say that most of their business comes from their friends and family members and the people that they know. But ironically, this agent said, "Well, I have an online lead source that funnels me leads every day." And I said to them, "Okay, how's that going for your business?" And they said, "Actually, the quality of the lead is diminished, the cost has gone up, and I'm very, very fearful that I'm going to get cut off from this lead provider." Well, all of a sudden, if that lead provider pulls out, I asked them, "Where's your business going to come from?" And they said, "I don't know." So what that means is if that leg gets pulled out from underneath them, their table is going to be on the floor. And we never want that to happen to an agent. And that's why we want to help you build multiple pillars of income for your business. And we've actually identified about 30 to 40 different pillars of income for an agent's business. And coming up here shortly, because of the timing of the year, a lot of agents are going to be doing their business plans for 2027. And as you start to do your business planning for 2027, you want to include a minimum of at least 4, 5, or 6 pillars for your business. And when you create a pillar for your business, whatever your income goal is for 2027, that pillar needs to be able to produce that amount of income. So, for example, if your income goal for 2027 is $250,000, then what that means is if you have 4 pillars and each pillar was to attain your income goal of $250,000, that next year you would earn $1 million in gross commission income. Now, it doesn't work out perfectly that way. One pillar is going to produce $180,000. One pillar is going to produce 60,000. Another pillar is going to produce 40,000. Another pillar is going to produce 15,000. But if you only have one pillar, what happens is you either hit your income goal or you don't hit your income goal. And when you have multiple pillars, even if they're not achieving the full amount of the goal, the ultimate goal is to achieve more than your annual income goal. Now, the four most common pillars are going to be people that you know in your sphere of influence. This could be online and offline. Also, a pillar of income should be listing and seller business. We'll talk about where those listings and seller business come from here in just a minute. But then we also have relationship and referral marketing, which is actually a different pillar than just the people that you know. And then we talk a lot about prospecting and lead generation. And when we talk about prospecting and lead generation, and we look at all the different pillars, you're going to break it down into a very, very specific pillar. One of the pillars that we want to talk about that is not just the lowest hanging fruit, there's actually two of them. It's not just the lowest hanging fruit on the money tree, it's the fruit that's on the ground. And the fruit that's on the ground isn't just on the ground, it's rotting on the ground. And these two pillars of income are actually for sale by owners and expired and failed listings. And the reason why is that person that owns that property has not thought about selling their property. They've gone way beyond that, and they're actually thinking about selling their property because they took an action that led them to put a for sale by owner sign in the front yard or get the property listed on the MLS with a real estate agent. And unfortunately, neither one of those opportunities that or actions that that property owner took led to a closed sale on their property. 80% of your transactions outside of your sphere of influence and your referral business can actually come from for sale by owners and expired listings. Because typically, when an agent comes into a for sale by owner, they've been completely marketing the property and priced the property incorrectly, and they don't know what they're doing. And if the property's been listed and expired, the second agent typically has a 54% higher chance of selling the property than the original listing agent did and faster. So when you're looking at the different pillars of income for your business and where your business can come from between now and the end of the calendar year and in 2027, those are the two pillars that you should strongly consider. Of course, there's other pillars that create closed transactions like open houses, like door knocking, like just listed, just sold postcards. Just remember that every activity in your business can produce a result. The only question is, what activity do you want to engage in that's going to produce the fastest result and the highest return on your marketing? What you're going to be doing after you determine your pillars is you'll create a pillar scoreboard for each pillar. That way, you know which pillar is producing the most consistent result for your business. That way, your income has some stability and security to it. Ironically, your most valuable market already knows you. These are your friends, your family members, your past clients, your neighbors, your coworkers, your schools, churches, professional contacts, social media, community connections. And it's ironic because most agents spend more time talking to strangers than they do staying relevant to the people that already know, like, and trust them. And one of the reasons that agents do this is they have this fear of, I don't want to feel like I'm imposing and I don't want to feel like I'm bothering the people that I know about real estate. But in reality, you have to think about all the people that they know and the businesses that they own and how they're marketing to us. Think about it. Your dentist calls you every 6 months to come in and have a checkup. I've never been offended anytime my dentist office has reached out to me to remind me that I need to come in and have my teeth cleaned and have a checkup. In fact, I feel like they're doing me a valuable service by reminding me that I have to come in. So your friends, family, and your sphere of influence, they actually appreciate us reaching out and just not reminding them about us being in real estate, but it's also an opportunity for us to provide valuable services for them, like referring them to somebody that might be able to come out and do maintenance on their property. Maybe it's getting them an accurate market value to dispute their property taxes. Maybe it's just sharing with them what's happening in the market area with income growth from people moving in from out of state, schools, crime statistics, interest rates, really anything that might pique their interest and keep them abreast of what's really happening in the real estate market and not what they're hearing from the media and social media. And familiarity does not always guarantee opportunity. Somebody may be familiar with you, especially if you're active on social media, but that doesn't actually equal clarity about your services, your markets, or your availability to them. We highly encourage you to communicate specifically about who you help and where you work. And we're going to give you a website really quick called bestplaces.net. All you have to do is go into bestplaces.net, put in your zip code or market area, and it's going to give you all the information that you need to know that you can consistently share with your sphere and the clients that you're working with in your market. You want to always position yourself with your sphere as educational and relevant. It's not always about repeated self-promotion. It's funny to me when I watch agents on social media and some of the videos that they post and some of the information and the things, the crazy things that they do just to stand out. And a lot of what they do isn't very professional. In fact, I'm sometimes almost embarrassed for the agent to post or present exactly what they're sharing on social media because it does not come across as skilled and professional. Also, as you look at your sphere marketing system, relationship marketing, as I mentioned, is not repeatedly asking for business over and over again. It's never been more important than it is right now to provide value, education, meaningful touches, what we call meaningful moments with your sphere of influence and your client base. And you want to develop and build a simple, repeatable cadence to your sphere communication, especially if you look at the top 50 or 100 people that you have in your database. It's interesting because we talk about CRMs all the time, and a lot of agents don't even use them. And right now, I just want to talk about how crucial this is and what we call missed opportunity. And the reason why is statistically speaking, for every 100 people that is in your contacts or in your cell phone, 30 to 70% of them are going to be involved in a real estate transaction within the next 12-month period of time. So think about that. If you have 100 contacts in your phone or your CRM, that's 3 to 7 transactions that are literally sitting in your pocket. And if your database is much bigger than that, 500,000 people, that's a lot of transactions outside of everything else that you can do in your business that can happen right now. The only question becomes, are those contacts thinking about you anytime they think about real estate, and are you staying in contact with them? When we list properties, and you probably already heard this quote before if you've been in real estate for any period of time, and that is, if you list, you last. And that statement is really true because if you control the inventory in your market, you control your business. And every listing that you take can create buyer leads, neighbor conversations, future sellers, referrals, and it helps with our social media content. But these opportunities only appear when you have a written action plan for listings. When you list, there's a pipeline, and just like any pipeline, it can have leaks. And this is where listing revenue continues and oftentimes leaks. And when you think about listings and the listing opportunity that we have, if you have any response from your listing and you're not following up, that's going to cause a leak. If you have incomplete contact information, we need everybody's name, phone number, and email address for follow-up. Then once you have it, you need to follow up. Also, if you're not doing strategic open houses that generate leads for your business, we need to reevaluate your open house strategy. Also, anytime you have an open house, you should be door knocking and introducing yourself to the closest 100 homes in the neighborhood and give those property owners an opportunity to pick their neighbor. They might have a friend or a family member that wants to move or live in the neighborhood. And then you always want to constantly promote your listings, whether it's a flyer, just listed, just posted, just listed postcard. The actual just sold postcard is the most powerful thing we can send. And then as you start to identify potential sellers, you always need to track every single lead, regardless of where it came from and the opportunity. And when you have a lead in the system, you're going to track them A, B, C, A, B, and C. An A lead is anybody that we have an appointment with. A equals appointment. A B lead in your business is anybody that can buy or sell in the next 30 to 90 days. And if they're a C lead is 90 days out or more. Our A leads, we obviously already have an appointment with them. Our B leads, our goal is to move them to an A as quickly as possible, and you're reaching out to them a minimum of 2 times a month. If they're a C lead, you're going to reach out to them at least 1 time per month and see if you can move them to a B or a C. When we talk about the listing opportunity funnel and we talk about listing exposure, buyer and seller inquiries, conversions, appointments, and clients, every listing that you take is an opportunity for you to market at another level. And right now, if you don't have listings, you're going to leverage other agents' listings by volunteering to sit in open houses from them, and you're still going to door knock the neighborhood and introduce yourself using other people's inventory. As you're hosting your open houses, you're getting sign calls, you're generating leads from your website, buyer conversion becomes more important than ever before. And the key to buyer conversion is asking better questions. You need to make sure that you slow down before you jump into a sales pitch or a close. Always remember to ask, listen, and understand as your conversation guide. The stronger your discovery questions are, that leads you to better trust, better guidance, and higher conversion with your clients. I'm going to recommend a book by Phil Jones called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. Go on Amazon, go to the bookstore, buy it today. The things that we say in our dialogue have so much impact on how our business moves forward and how our conversations happen. If you want to have a higher conversion ratio, it all comes back to asking better questions. Once you have a listing, you want to utilize the 7-day listing activation plan. And we're going to share that with you after the webinar in an ebook that we're going to be emailing out to you. But our whole goal is to create speed, consistency, and follow-up during the first week when attention is the highest on a listing. The first 21 days of any listing is actually the best opportunity that we have to sell the property and sell it at the highest price. And just like an airplane pilot or a nurse, they use checklists. That way they don't forget to do anything and make a mistake. And so you want to be sure to use the listing checklist on every single listing that you have so that you're marketing it and selling it with the highest chance and the best conversion and attraction for new buyers. You want to remember that revenue doesn't always equal profit. And it always amazes me that all these companies out there celebrate agent success based on gross commission income. I know some real estate agents that are teams, individual agents, or even brokerages that have a really, really good revenue number. However, they have so many expenses in their business that their profit margin is very, very small. I think that all these companies, what they should be giving awards for is net income because the net is what matters most in a business. And as you evaluate your business for 2026 and you start to do your business planning for 2027, you want to evaluate every expense that you have and you want to determine if it's an expense you want to keep. The first question that you always ask when you look at your business expenses is number one, does it create revenue? Number two, does it protect the client experience? We talk about meaningful moments, and you want to be connecting with those top 50 and 100 people in your database face to face on a monthly basis. And as you're having meaningful moments and you're stopping by and having conversations with them, or you're having your client appreciation events throughout the year, which by the way, you should be doing a minimum of 4, one per quarter. That is an investment that we can make in our community that can generate a great return on your investment. Question number 3 is, does it save me meaningful time? There's definitely things that we can be doing in our business that save time because remember, time's worth more than money. And then number 4, can the results be measured? How much money did I invest and what was that result? And when you look at the result, you have to remember that anything that we invest our money in, it has to produce a 3 to 6x return on our investment. And if it doesn't do that, you're going to stop doing it because that's where profitability actually leaks. You want to take a moment to find the leaks in your business. Oftentimes, leaks have nothing to do with expenses. What leaks actually can occur are maybe you're with a brokerage or a company that has a really, really high broker split, or maybe you're on a team and you're on a team split. Also, you might be receiving a lead source from somewhere that gets a portion of your compensation right off the top before your broker splits. Also, you might have office and technology fees, those paid lead expenses. Also, oftentimes agents now are using virtual assistants, but they don't have clear outcomes with their VAs, and they don't know oftentimes that their VA wasn't trained to begin with. They don't know your systems. Therefore, they're not helping you produce a predictable result for your business. Oftentimes, too, agents build team members or build teams, and they make a big mistake of saying, oh, well, the first thing I need for my team is I need agents. The first thing that an agent actually needs if they're going to build a team, or if you're a broker owner, is you need an admin or an assistant. It can be a real live person, it can be a VA, but you need to hand off the non-income producing activities and delegate mundane tasks to those individuals. You want to stay focused on $1,000 or more income producing activities. Because, for example, I know that the average equity agent with our company in 2025, because we track the number, the average commission earned by an agent with our company after the company was paid was $11,642. Well, if I know that I can take a listing and the average listing takes between 8 to 10 hours from beginning to end, that's more than a $1,000 income producing activity. So if I can go out and list and sell properties and I can hand off a $25 to $35 or $50 non-income producing activity to somebody else, I'm going to earn more income and put that in my pocket. Also, oftentimes agents have unused tools and subscriptions, and some of them do the exact same thing, and you want to reevaluate those. And then if you're purchasing leads, you need to track your conversion because if you get 100 leads and you don't convert any of them, that's an expense that you want to eliminate. One of the highest value opportunities that agents have in their business right now is by creating strategic partnerships and professional relationships with what we consider our power team members. Those are all the individuals in our business that we work with. And I talk to agents all the time and I say to them, tell me about your business. And they go, well, I'm a solo agent, I'm by myself. And that's a perception. And that perception isn't actually true because they have mortgage professionals, insurance agents, financial advisors, attorneys, contractors, property managers, accountants, other business community owners, handymen, home inspect, not just or home warranty companies, title and escrow companies. Like we're surrounded all these by all these individuals, and oftentimes as agents, we're influencing their business way more than they're influencing our business. For example, I work with a person on my what I would consider my power team that's a mortgage broker. And I look back and I did an assessment of how many referrals I gave them for new home purchase buyers and refinances. And I looked at over a a 12-month period of time, and I had referred 32 people to this individual. But when I looked back and I went, oh my gosh, what type of business are they referring to me? They hadn't given me one client back in a 12-month period of time. Now, I was getting back my buyer referrals that they were getting pre-qualified and sending back, but I generated those. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, I know I see you do a ton of social media marketing. I see you networking all over the place. Are you generating new buyers and new home loans for properties? And they said, oh, yeah, I do that a lot. And I said, great. Where are those going? And they said, well, I take those and I give them to agents that have never given me business before, hoping to get future business. It's like, okay, well, how about you take care of the agents that are feeding you business now before going out and getting new people? That was a very, very hard conversation to have. But for me, it has to be one to one. So don't take everybody that you're generating from your open houses, online leads, wherever you're getting people from, providing all of these other service providers and putting food on their tables without having them help you put food on yours. And when we talk about prospecting, and oftentimes, like I say, prospecting at a live event, and I can literally watch all of the agents in the audience, their bodies shift because a lot of agents don't feel comfortable prospecting. And the reason why is we're talking to people that we don't know. And part of that was conditioning from when we were growing up as kids. I know my parents, my grandparents always told me that when I went out to ride my bicycle, don't talk to strangers, right? But when you look at the world today, all we do is talk to strangers. In fact, we open up an app on our phone and request a ride from somebody that we don't know that picks us up, and within 10 or 15 minutes, they're our new best friend. And we've become better now at talking to strangers than we've ever been in our lifetimes. And as long as you're making proactive prospecting across multiple channels, that's what's going to fill our client pipeline. Think about your sphere of influence calls, open houses, and social media. But on social media, if somebody likes or comments on something that you post, you need to pick up the phone and reach out to them and say, hey, thanks for liking my post on the open house that I did this past weekend. How was your trip to the lake with the kids? And were you actually interested in that property, or are you just supporting my business? Make the call. And then in your video marketing, because video is so powerful in your social media marketing, anything that you do or post has to have a call to action at the end. And if you want to double your income in 2027, think about your geographic market or farm because you always want to be working in the market area that has the highest price point. And if you're in a market area right now where the price point's lower, you need to determine that highest price point in your market. And it's really easy to do. Go to ChatGPT and type in this prompt. What zip code in this market area or even this state has the highest number of residential home sales in the next 12 months? And within about 5 seconds, ChatGPT is going to say this zip code in your market area has the highest number of residential sales. And then also there's what we call complementary markets, which are other zip codes close by that might be ranked 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Then you're going to take that information and you're going to go to bestplaces.net. You're going to enter the zip code and learn about it. But then you're going to also go into your MLS. You're going to look at the number of listings on market, number of pending transactions, and number of closed sales within the last 12 months. And then you're going to immerse yourself in the market. You're going to start holding open houses, listing properties, working with buyers, and you're going to join their community. Go join the local gym, the local pickleball club, start going out and volunteering and doing community events and immerse yourself in the market, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes away from where you live. Your business and your income just from doing that can double next year. I worked with an agent that did this, and she was a good agent. She was already doing $8 million in volume. And as her coach, she told me, I want to double my income in the next year. I said, great, let's identify the market. We did. The very next year, she went to 16 million in volume. And the year after that, she went to 33 million in volume. And the only thing she did was continue the marketing activities and the income producing activities that already worked. We just changed her audience. Now, to help you build and accelerate and maximize your results, we're going to be providing you with a 90-day plan. You're going to evaluate your daily activities and standards, your conversations and your follow-up. You're also going to measure everything on a weekly, measure your weekly results, and you're going to start to add your pillars of income. Now, pillars of income, remember, they can come and go and change over time. When the real estate bubble burst back in 8, 9, 10, and 11, that pillar was short sales. That pillar went away in 2013. Right now, one of the hottest topics and the hottest markets and the newest emerging pillar is senior property owners. And the reason why, and when they say senior, and don't anybody be offended when I say 55 and older, but the reason why we say 55 and older is we have 55 and older specific communities, not necessarily in age. So we're not talking about boomers, Gen Zs, millennials, whatever the new generations refer to. I think it's Alpha A. We're not talking about that. But when you think about the senior market, it's the largest demographic. There's over $90 trillion of equity out there. 74% of all the homes are paid for. And those property owners not only need to sell, but they're going to buy and downsize. And because their properties are paid for, we don't have to even think about interest rates because they can pay cash for properties. So develop that next pillar of income. And remember, you want to have a minimum of 4. Then we're going to really put the pedal to the metal and we're going to maximize for 61 to 90 days. And we're going to increase your closings, increase your revenue, your property, your profitability, and then you're always going to review your systems. With a focused 90-day action plan and working in 90-day increments in your business, it's going to give you an opportunity to create a more predictable business. So think about your priorities, weekly activities, matrix, but most importantly, accountability. And accountability for a lot of agents is hard. And early in my business, when I first started in December of 2000, One of the very first things that I did was I hired a mentor and a coach. And the reason why I hired a mentor and a coach is I didn't want to make mistakes. I wanted to go fast, but most importantly, I needed accountability because my friends and family members, and even my broker and agents in my office, they weren't holding me accountable the way I needed to be held accountable. And so, if you're having a challenge with accountability, get the right person that's going to push you to the next level. As we come to the end of our time together today, what we'd like you to do as soon as the webinar is over, sit down and write down one specific change or the thing that you feel or believe is the most important action that you can take during the next 90 days that's going to have the biggest impact on your business. But once you determine what that is, you need to make a clear commitment rather than a long list of vague intentions. And always remember that predictability and change happen when the next action is scheduled or measured. I want to continue to connect with everybody. And so this is my serve regardless of opportunity offer for you. Right now on the screen, that is my direct cell phone number. I've had that phone number since 1987. Yes, my first phone was in a bag. You're welcome to call me or text me. Also, that is my email address. You can send me an email. But what I highly recommend everybody doing, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, that's fine too, because you're going to want to request the resources afterwards anyway by emailing me at that email address. But on the screen is a QR code. And I want to invite everybody to scan the QR code and schedule a 15-minute phone call with me, a 30-minute web meeting, or a 1 hour web meeting. And if your business is not currently where you want it to be, you're struggling, you're lost, you're confused, your income is not where you want it to be, your number of transactions are not where you want it to be, or you just need some conversation with somebody that is going to give you some positivity in today's market. Because right now, I'm more excited right now than I've actually been about real estate in 26 years. And it's because we're in a perfect storm we've never been in before, and that creates opportunity for us. And so I'm asking you to reach out because if you need help and we don't know, we can't help you. And when you reach out, we'll just look at where you're at in your business, and then we will figure out an action plan and direction for you to continue to grow your business, increase your income, and maximize your results. And as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. Build a business that supports your lifestyle, not a lifestyle that supports your business. Everybody go out, have a powerful and productive day, but most importantly, be safe out there. See you soon.